Hello, welcome back to Gecko Tech and Gaming. My name's Kyle. This is Ganon. He's my gargoyle gecko. And today, we are going to look at the new Aerox 3 wireless gaming mouse. And this is going to be the Ghost Edition, which is a newly released update to the original Aerox 3 wireless, which got some mixed reviews. They put really thin black PTFE, not like the pure, like the higher grade ones that are used in a lot more mice nowadays. So that was one thing. Very scratchy, didn't work very well on a lot of different mouse pad surfaces. On top of that, there was a lot of issues that people had with the build quality in terms of the mouse 1 and mouse 2. It also had smaller side buttons that, for me personally, I got used to very easily, but a lot of people didn't like them as much. So now they have these new larger mouse feet on the top and on the bottom. That makes a pretty big difference with performance. Don't need to replace the feet, at least in my opinion. This is actually what I've been maining for quite a while since I got it. Haven't really put it down. I tried to switch it out with, like the last review I did on the Ponage Sin 2 wireless. Haven't really touched it since getting this. This is such a really good mouse. It looks really cool. You can customize the colors to whatever you want it to be. It looks really slick. It reminds me of those old Nintendo devices, like a old Game Boy. There you are. Old Game Boy, like those transparent purple ones. So they look really cool in my opinion. The build quality, it feels really solid while being really light. It's advertised at about 68 grams, which is what I get on my scale. Very light compared to other mice that are comparable. Like if you look at the Viper Ultimate is 74 grams, if I remember correctly, and that's priced significantly higher. I think the Viper Ultimate is priced at, I think you're on my mic, buddy. Is it time to go back? I think it's time to go back. Oh, there you go. That's good. Oh, he's gonna make a jump for it. All right, let me put this buddy back to bed. They're nocturnal, so coming out in the day is like coming out in the middle of the night for them. So I'm gonna put him back and I'll get back to it, okay? Right, back to the video. So, Aerox 3 Ghost. It has what the SteelSeries website calls it the TrueMove Air, which is a PMW 3335. It has a good battery performance, low energy consumption, so that you can use it wired and wireless without costing too much battery, which is why you see sensors that are really considered like very high quality, such as the 3389. You don't really see them on wireless, and that's because they're not very power efficient. So the Aerox 3 wireless has two really big feet on the top and bottom. They're really good feet. They are not rounded on the edges. That's the only drawback. The surface area is very large compared to a lot of other mice, and compared to the first edition where it just came with 4 small circles on the corners, and on top of that they were really thin, so you would actually feel the bottom of the mouse scratching on the mouse pad surface. And they've got a good amount of thickness to them on top of being very smooth. It's just those harder corners. Now, unless you're very heavy-handed or like an Olympic champion in one-finger push-ups, you're gonna be fine with this. This honestly probably won't cause you much trouble. Maybe if you're someone who gets really intense, puts a lot of pressure on there. For me, I used it on hard pad, I used it on the Sky Pad, the glass mouse pad. I even used it on very soft pads like the Artisan X Soft. I used it on a Hien as well as a Zero, just to test and see how it felt. I didn't have any issues with it. As long as you're not pushing really hard, you won't really notice. So for most people, these feet will be perfect out of the box, which is another thing that this boasts, It's only $99.99. That's MSRP. It already comes with great mouse feet, so you don't need to replace it. There's a lot of mice that are considered very good grade, but the nature of the mouse feet that are on them, you kind of need to replace them to get it up to par, up to performance. And that can cost anywhere from like $8 to $15. So for certain mice, you have to factor that in. This one out of the box, you don't need to modify this at all to get a really good top performing mouse. You don't need to change any wires. The cable that it comes with is perfectly adequate. It's not like the best, but it's very flexible and light. Just plug it in between when you're actively playing games and you'll be just fine. Now, another big positive that for me personally is nice but not necessary is this has wired 2.4 hertz wireless as well as Bluetooth. Now, the lighting, you can't really make big changes with the lighting setup in Bluetooth. That's why this is doing the little rainbow thing right now. If I change it to wireless, the 2.4 hertz, it goes straight to my custom setup that matches my my other pieces of equipment on my desk. So I kind of have this good cohesive design going on my setup. I switched from a black and white ever since getting this mouse to getting the Razer Phantom keycaps, which look really, really slick next to this guy, because they both have that kind of frosted, transparent look to them. I really like it. It looks really slick. Cosmetically, I think this is one of the coolest looking mice. Now, in terms of gameplay, I've been running this as my main mouse. I've been playing Kovacs, and then I also use this with Call of Duty, Warzone, and this performs great. I mean, I've used let me put it this way, I've tested about 26 like high quality gaming mice, and right now this is my favorite overall. There are certain things that different mice do better. In terms of ergonomics, I like the MM720. Now, for reference, I've got really stocky wide hands, 17.5 centimeters tall by 10.5 wide. I found I needed a little bit more width. Like the Razer Viper Mini, a lot of people, for them, that's like the ultimate shape, and they just want it wireless, which is why the Ponage Sim 2 was such a great mouse in my opinion. Not particularly because it did something really interesting, but it filled that niche in the market that was missing, a Viper Ultimate wireless experience in a Viper Mini shape. In terms of performance to cost, like if you put that into a ratio, Viper Mini is really high because you get a lot of kick for only like 20-30 bucks. You get a really good performing mouse. But optimally, I think you'd want to put a paracord on it. So I'd say for the Viper Mini, if you want to run that, put in another 15-20 bucks to put a paracord on it, and you'll have a really high performing mouse. Now, otherwise, compared to other wireless mice, this is priced at $100, like I mentioned. It's 68 grams on my scale. It's only $100 for really good wireless performance. No stutters, no skips. You can get Bluetooth, wireless, 2.4 hertz, as well as wired performance modes. So you have a lot of different options. It's very utilitarian in that way. Now compare it to something like the Viper Ultimate, which is about 74 grams the last time I checked. And that one's anywhere from 120 to 150. You can get lucky. They'll occasionally have sales for it down as low as, I think, like 100, like 99.99 is the lowest I've ever seen it. But that's pretty uncommon. Typically, you're going to get it from around 120 to 150. And for me, it was just a little bit too long, which is why I haven't continued to use it. Otherwise, the sensor's fantastic and the performance is excellent on the Viper Ultimate. But the shape was just not good for me. I needed something a little bit shorter with a little bit more of a straight, either straight or wider grip. And this one has a very straight angle here with a flare in the back. And this works great for me in terms of shape. But it's also lighter for a lower cost. Now, the G Pro is another great wireless mouse But again, it's significantly heavier, it's typically more expensive, and you lose out on the Bluetooth. I mean, this is really good. You get a lot of utility and a lot of performance for roughly $100. It's pretty good. The only comparison I could think of right now that I think does beat it out in terms of price to performance is the Pulsar X Lite. I haven't personally got my hands on it. It's an ergonomic mouse. It's something like 58 grams, very, very light. It also is ergonomic. So for some people, that's a hard pass. Overall, this is really good. I can give this a very, very easy recommend. The initial release, no. But now they've fixed all those issues. They've maintained the price at $100. If this look with the transparent frosted plastic is something up your alley, I can very easily recommend this. Sensor works perfectly. Performance-wise, no issues. Switches, very nice. It feels really good. Switches are very light to actuate. They're not particularly heavy. They are IP54 water and dust proof, which not all mice with holes have. So it's something to look out for. But as long as you're not eating any crazy dusty foods, like, it's not anything to worry about. But if you are someone who does that, this solves the problem. Now, one other thing that you may need to consider is sensor placement. This sensor is a little bit far back, closer back to the palm. Now for me, I had no issues adjusting to it. Took a day, that was fine. I've used mice that have centrally located sensors like the Viper Ultimate. I've also used mice that have sensors near the front like the Aerox V2. All of them, I mean, to be perfectly honest, I adjusted to pretty easy. It is different. It's a very different experience between the three. Can't really honestly say that one is better than the other. It's just a different experience. So ultimately, in my opinion, shape is number one when it comes to picking your mouse. Do the ergonomics match with your hand shape and size? Number two is debatable, but right now I think for most people, number two would be weight. For me personally, I'm fine with using a mouse up to 80, 90 grams. It doesn't bother me too much. But for a lot of people, it's a big, big game changer. But even for them, I'd still say the shape is number one, and then weight. Third, in my opinion, and this is just my personal opinion, I don't think this really applies to everybody, just for what bothers me most, is wired versus wireless. I really like wireless. Not having the clutter, that visual clutter, is really nice to minimize distractions. And even if you put a wire into a bungee, you still feel it. It's perfectly serviceable, and you can perform super great with it. But for me, it just creates more visual clutter on my desk, and I'm trying to like keep things down to a minimum as much as I can, if it's possible. And you feel it. You feel the drag. So those are my top three when it comes to that. And this fulfills all three of those for me. So for the time being, until there's an MM720 wireless, this is gonna be my main. But it's not for everybody. That's a very, very polarizing shape. This is not. They're not doing anything like really crazy with the shape here, but I mean, do you need to? If it ain't broke, don't fix it. And this is a very safe shape that'll work for a lot of people. So I think that this is a very easy recommend. So, thank you again. Really appreciate you being here, watching all the way through. Hit the like button, subscribe button, whatever else the YouTube overlords want me to tell you. Stay safe, take care, God bless, and I'm signing off for now. Come back next time, we'll see more about some more gaming mice, peripherals, reptiles, and more. Alright? You take care. Thanks again.